Cells.
To cell.
Yeah!
Hey everyone, welcome back to Cells to Cell. My name is Heem, that's Nick, and today we have Deborah Jones with us. Hey Debbie.
Hi!
Hey Debbie, how are you? We're happy to have you on. Debbie's another RGME student, so we're just gonna sit down and have a cool conversation with another like-minded person, is how I see this today.
So you want to tell us about yourself, your background?
Yeah, so I'm actually from Texas, South Texas. I grew up there. I grew up there in my life. I did my undergrad there at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. I majored in Biomedical Sciences. And then from there, I wanted to do I was doing a pre-med kind of route. So before coming here to Cleveland in my master's program, I was doing the MCAT, studying for medical school. And then throughout that time, I got the email from this program, and I've always had an interest in stem cells and how the body naturally is able to recuperate itself, and I've always had that interest. And so learning about this program, I really got interested in it. I got in contact with Melanie, everyone there in the program, and I'm here and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah.
So Biomedical Sciences, right?
Yes.
It was your undergrad major. So did you have any exposure to stem cells, in any of that content?
We had a class where it was briefly mentioned. And then that's when I got interested right away about stem cells. And they were talking about how it was kind of controversial still, how some people kind of look a little bit
baby
cells. About the
Yeah.
embryology and the getting the embryo cells, and a lot of people don't like that. And of course, there's more to that,
There are some valid ethical concerns, I think.
Yeah.
But the science is still really great.
Yeah. And so since then, I've always had that interest, and then yeah.
I just want to say that the majority of scientists who are participating in stem cell research do not have the intention of growing new humans. That's not what people are doing with stem cells right now. Everybody's trying to make some sort of medicine to cure some horrible disease that's been plaguing humanity since the beginning of time. I come from a very Germanic Catholic area where people are very worried about embryonic stem cells. And I remember I told my religion teacher in college, my senior year of college, I went to a Catholic university, and I had to take 3 religion classes, 3 Catholicism classes. And they weren't bad. I've gone to Catholic schools my entire life. So they were just kind of another blip on the radar, just had to get them done. There was a lot of review. Well, we went to this talk in person. Everything was on Zoom, but we went in person one time, and I got to meet my teacher, and she's very nice. And she asked me, my roommate, my friend, "What are you guys doing for after school?" And I was like, my friend Alan was like, "I'm going to medical school." She's like, "That's great. My husband's a doctor at Children's." And we're like, "Oh, that's awesome." She asked my friend Ashley, "What do you do?" She's like, "Oh, I have something set up at a local hospital to work in their lab to do diagnostic testing." She looks at me, she goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm getting my master's." She's like, "In what?" I said, "Regenerative medicine and entrepreneurship." And she goes, "What's regenerative medicine?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm in the trap. I'm sitting in church. I'm in our chapel at my university, and I say stem cells, and she just goes, "Oh, do you know where stem cells come from?" And I'm like, "They're not embryonic stem cells, I promise." I'm pretty sure any embryonic stem cell in research is from
umbilical cord, or
it might be from umbilical cord, but it's
Bone,
also but even if there's one, it's just a cell line.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even you're going and taking, God forbid, aborted fetuses and taking their cells. That's crazy. If you think that's a thing, you don't understand the science. That's why we have this, so people can tune in and learn. Okay, there's my tangent. I'm so sorry. I had a question for you, though. What kind of got you into this kind of science? What got you interested in cells? Why did you pick your major in undergrad? And kind of why did you pick RGME when there's a ton of stuff out there?
So, ever since I was little, I've always had an interest in science, especially the human body and what goes on, and then the diseases. And I really do like the cellular aspect of like what goes on whenever, a disease comes in, a condition, what happens to those cells, why. So that little like needy part, that little details, I like that. And so, growing up, I thought, okay, for pre-med, I have to do a biology major, right? But then I thought, I just don't want to do biology because it's just very,
It's broad.
It's
really
broad. It's very broad. So I wanted something more focused on medicine. And the program in my hometown, I went to UTRGV, University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. They have a program there in Biomedical Sciences, and that program focused, in more the medical aspect and more medicine. And so they even offer clinical rotations. So I like that, and that's why I decided to do that program and then go from there,
So I just have a quick question. So the University of Texas Rio Grande, is that like a satellite to like the University of Texas, or is that like a separate college?
I want to say it's a separate college.
Is it separate? Okay,
Yes. We do have two campuses, one in the Edinburgh and one in Brownsville.
Okay, because like University of like Penn State is like Penn State Erie. Or like there's like a UPenn Erie where I'm from. There's like University of Cincinnati, but then there's like UC Blue Ash, and they're like it's like classrooms for people who can't make the drive all the way. I didn't know if you went to Texas, but that was okay.
Yeah,
I was just wondering.
Yes. No. I mean, yeah, that's a valid question. I think it's a separate university. I want to say, I'm not sure, but I know that they had two campuses, and I went to the Brownsville one.
Okay.
So.
Awesome.
But they did traveling, like students who lived in Edinburgh or Brownsville, and they had classes in the other campus. There was a bus that would take them.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So
we heard about like why you like the science of stem cells.
Yeah, but why'd you pick RGME?
Yeah, RGME has an entrepreneurship.
Yeah,
side to it. We're
about
regulations, commercialization.
Yes, so
it's something unique, right?
Yeah.
You wanted to do something.
So coming here, I did not have a background in business, and I was so worried about that part of the program because I thought, oh my gosh, I don't have any business background. What am I gonna do? But talking to Melanie, talking to Dr. Bonfield, the advisors of the program, they really reassured me that a lot of people also have that background or that
only science background.
Yeah.
Yes, only science background, and so they also have that same problem. But that it was okay. They did well. So I thought, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do it. And it was a good challenge. I like to challenge myself, so I wanted to try it out. Learning about business, I thought it might help me in my career later on. And then, learning about the commercialization, what goes through the regulation, like clinical trials, how to develop your product. Where do you start?
Yeah.
How do you start? What's the process? Like, I've really enjoyed learning about that. And
that part is so cool to me.
I low-key feel like we have gotten some really good education because, like, when we talk to some people who are in, like, industry, I'll be like, okay, yeah, this is how we do it, this is the regulation, this is blah, blah, blah. And you can tell that, like, we can at least keep up a conversation nowadays, Just, like, beginning of RGME, I was like, what even is a stem cell? Like,
I didn't even know about clinical trials.
Yeah.
You
like about clinical trials?
I didn't even know.
No way.
That's crazy. Well, look at how far you've come.
Yeah. No, it was funny. It was like, whoa. But
I think the only reason I ever really heard of clinical trials before I came here was two reasons. COVID, I was in school during COVID, so I was constantly watching the news,
COVID was a big
learning about pushing everything through. And I was lucky enough to take a medicinal chemistry class where we went through the creation of drugs and it was more like small molecules. It was not cell therapies or gene therapies. So like it's a totally separate experience. But it was cool to like kind of just get like an introduction to that. But I wanted to say like I think that the entrepreneurship part of this program is so cool because in class yesterday it was Bioinnovations, I think, with Lena.
Uh-huh.
Right, yeah. So I don't know if you guys had him come in, but it was a gentleman from UH Innovations.
We did.
And
we had him
it
on
was
Zoom, I think.
it's so interesting learning about how even like hospitals have established venture capital where they're able to go out and acquire things from like their internal sources and like use that as a weapon to continue to grow their business. And I think that that's so brilliant. And like I'm leading into the question of like, you said you were pre-med. Are you still kind of on that tracker with your stem cell experience and kind of learning a bit of entrepreneurship? Like, would you maybe pivot a little bit and go into the space of medicine, but instead more of like an administrative, like money role, where you're still getting to work with the science, but you're also working on the business side?
So I've been thinking about that, of course. I'm not a big fan of the business side.
Okay.
I to this day, even though I'm like doing great in the classes, even though I'm learning a lot, to this day I'm just like, that is not
Like
what
if you wake up, you don't want to.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So I prefer more of like the clinical science part. Of course, if I do end up working in a company and maybe I can be a part of the business, maybe marketing, something like that I can like talk to others, more
Help raise money.
Raise awareness in a way, go talk to people. I like that. I think that's something that I enjoy. So, but again, going with your question, I would prefer like the clinical side. So is medical school still, in my future? I don't know. Coming to this program, I have learned a lot, and I have like opened my mind to so many things, not just like medical school, because now that we know regenerative medicine is such a wide field and we can do so much with what we've learned. I did end up loving clinical research. That is what I want to do. No matter where I end up, either it be PhD, medical school, PA even.
Oh, wow.
I'm
You still want to stay relevant.
I want to
with the
stay
research.
in clinical research because I love the idea of researching new treatments for people who don't have any treatment options, any cures, and I want to be able to give them something, give them that hope.
That's why we're here.
And a common theme of our entire program is translational research.
Yes.
So you know how you can always discover really cool things about biology, like this is really cool protein, but how we do a lot of translational research, right?
Yeah.
So I guess this is a really good segue to like what you're doing in Dr. Bonfield's lab, right?
Yes.
So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so I started working in Dr. Bonfield's lab part-time. Her main focus is treating cystic fibrosis in patients using human mesenchymal stem cells. So of course, you guys know that.
Yeah.
So in her lab, we've been focusing on treating non-tuberculosis microbacterial infections, which are these infections that are these cystic fibrosis patients are vulnerable to these kinds of infections, and we also have other populations as well that could be vulnerable to this infection. So we've been treating those bacterial infections with the MSCs, and just seeing the results and everything working.
And now these are all human cell lines, or are you working with mice right now?
We're mice.
Oh, mice.
Mice
Okay,
models,
so mice
yes.
models.
So human cells in mice models.
Or human
Oh,
mice
yes.
MSCs?
Yes, sorry. Human MSCs, but we're using mouse models.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
That's cool.
Cystic fibrosis, for those who may not know, is a genetic disease. It's a modification on chromosome number 7.
Okay,
And it affects a chlorine and bicarbonate imports and exports on the cell surface. So what happens is not enough chlorine can be pumped out. Therefore, the mucus outside cannot attract water. So the mucus gets really thick and sticky. So that causes a really big place for like housing of bacteria. That's why CF patients have trouble breathing, because they literally can't get air through the mucus to their alveoli to get oxygen. And it's a breeding ground for bacteria, so they have tons of infections. But lungs aren't the only thing that are affected by CF. CF also affects the digestive system. It affects what they can eat. It affects their liver and their pancreas. And it affects how they just process everything. So the reason I know this is every every molecular genetics class you ever take, whether it's genetics, molecular genetics, cell bio, or anything that has to do with DNA, CF is like the golden standard for the, or at least what I learned to be like the golden standard of what we use like gene therapy for. So what Dr. Bonfield's doing with MSCs is trying to lower inflammation, but I think she's trying to also do some sort of gene therapy eventually to help reprogram that chromosome or to insert a protein that can then fix the cell markers, which is being done all over the world. Like that's nothing new. But CF is like
I think
crazy.
it's so crazy because I've seen some things online. I don't know how viable it is in real life, but some people are like aerosolizing cells. So like I think we had some person talk about it in like last year, but like trying to maybe in an inhaler.
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
take
I
some
remember
stem
that.
cells
Yeah,
out
I
and
mean,
stuff.
albuterol. Albuterol is an
But
inhaler.
that's like a molecule, right?
But that's a molecule.
I'm
But
talking about, cells.
there were people that were doing. I remember in undergrad, my friend was doing a project on, we did like a paper project or like one of those like little presentations for class, and he found a paper. I don't remember if he did it, but it was a paper describing a new drug delivery system for. It was small little pieces of DNA, so it wasn't using a viral vector, but it was an aerosol.
Whoa.
And you inhale it, and like it would hopefully diffuse into like the correct cells and fix those, and if not, just be dissolved and like taken out of the body. But like
That's crazy.
I've never heard of it doing with cells. That's kind of wild.
Yeah, I mean.
I feel like the nanoparticle lab would be that would be like a cool delivery system.
So yeah, actually, we took nanomedicine last semester.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing about regenerative medicine. So, what do you think about like gene therapy versus stem cells versus tissue engineering?
I think they're all great. I know like we've learned a lot about that, like the different treatments out there. Of course, like each one has its own unique things that are more targeted for like a condition. For example, CAR T cells, it's more for cancer. They've been using that. Tissue engineering grafts when they're, for example, I don't know, diseases, more specifically, I think for like organ failure or something, if there's like a graft in an organ. And then, of course, cellular therapy, gene therapy. So, yeah, I mean, there's... And nanomedicine, like using nanoparticles for like drug delivery, so it's
like
really
super specific drug delivery.
Yeah.
What's your what's like the coolest thing you've learned in your almost 2 years here?
Oh my gosh.
The coolest thing, like what's one thing that's like you heard it like the second day in lecture in the first stem cell class we were going over things and you're like, wow, that's like the coolest thing ever.
I did like umbilical blood cord.
All of us are so.
I don't know why. When I heard about it, I was like, whoa! And like, there's so much that you can do with that umbilical cord. And also how there's FDA approved treatments already for the hematopoietic stem cell transplantation for leukemia or blood diseases, and then you can get even mesenchymal stem cells from umbilical cord. So I feel like that source is so powerful, or like there has so many things. And I also did like CAR T cell as well.
CAR Ts are so cool. Umbilical cords are like, I'd heard of stem cells before I came in here. Never heard of umbilical cord blood or like Wharton's jelly. Never, ever, ever heard of it.
I didn't even know you can like keep it and then store it in like the bank.
I would like tell my parents. I would tell them like, this is what I learned today, and they're like, you learned what? And I was like, yeah, like you can like cut it and then just like freeze it, and then they're like good for like 18 years or whatever if something happens.
20 years, right?
It's like 18, 20 years. You just suck up the cells, do whatever you need to them, and then just give them back, and they're yours. And they're like, then they lost interest. Somehow they lost interest. That's like the coolest thing ever. Oh my gosh.
I think the coolest thing we learned was when Debbie and I were in a project together. We went over Dr. Kaplan's Osiris company.
Yeah.
Remember he made that like placental tissue thing?
Yes.
And you could put it on stuff and like regenerates. It has growth factors. Like from like one birth, you can get like umbilical cord, placenta, amniotic fluid. Like it's insane. Like there's so much you can capitalize from this concept of like these rich stem cells, but who knows how viable they are like long term. You know?
I mean,
people are already keeping their umbilical cord or like their children's umbilical cord in a bank and then keeping it for years, and I assume it's viable until like
Has to be.
later.
Like, can you use it 20 years minus 1 day?
I mean,
Right,
maybe.
right? It's like not, it hasn't been expired to that 20-year mark, but that
Probably.
last day, it's pretty much like,
I don't
you know, is that even legal? Would ethically, would you like administer
But it's
that
your
still?
own
I mean,
umbilical
like,
cord. Like, what
yeah, I
if, like,
guess.
it's your own umbilical cord, and
Okay.
then you just have it there for your children, and when they're older, and something happens, if like let's say something happens to them, they can use their own umbilical cord. That's not, to me. I
Yeah.
mean, that's not
That's not-
Do you drink
ethically
milk?
ethically wrong.
Do you not drink milk the day before it expires?
Dude,
Do you
yeah,
drink
I mean,
milk when it expires?
Sometimes.
If it doesn't smell sour.
It does, yeah.
So why not say they're probably putting an expiration on it, like just to say like, okay, this is like,
But
if we're
still
gonna
to
use
test
it,
it.
like we're gonna test it.
Yeah,
And
still
then they
test
test
it.
it. So like with milk, you smell if it, you see if it's sour, or if
Yeah.
it's curdling, then it's really bad.
Yeah.
So like I guess you could just run like some cell assays and just like see like, oh, how
Yeah.
viable are these? How many cells can we actually get out and expand?
Mm-hmm.
So like I think 20 years is not like a hard date, but
Yeah.
I drink milk the day before it. I drink milk on the day it expires. It still tastes pretty good.
If it's
I've done
frozen.
that. I've done that.
Yeah,
Even with
it's-
yogurt
It's
too.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
Debbie.
I know.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Oh.
So, okay, well, okay, so you work in Dr. Bonfield's lab. You're about to graduate in,
May.
today is the 3/23, so May,
I know.
scary.
I know.
Oh my gosh. What do you have set up? What do you want to do?
Do you
Okay.
want to stay in
Are
Cleveland?
you going to stay in
Oh
Cleveland?
my
Are you going to
gosh.
stay in Bonfield's lab until you find something?
Yeah.
Or are you just like, I'm gone. I don't like the snow. I'm going back to
Oh,
where
I
it's
love the
warm in
snow.
Texas.
A lot of
You're
people, I
crazy.
know. A lot of people tell me like, you're crazy. We don't like the snow, and it's because maybe I'm an outsider. Like where I live in Texas, there is no snow. There's no snow. All year long, it's hot. So coming here, oh my God, it was a huge change. Driving in the snow, I thought, oh my gosh, I needed snow. I'm gonna need snow tires.
No.
I'm gonna need this and that. Oh no, not
It
at all.
wasn't-
I've
okay,
just
it
been.
wasn't too bad. Like this.
It wasn't too-
past-
yeah.
Knock on wood, Heen. We still got a month
Global
left, man.
climate change, whatever. It's happening in Cleveland. That's all I know.
But I really am enjoying the snow, and so for like after graduation, my plans, I do want to work. I do want to get that work experience full time, really start, that adult life. Because all my life I've just been studying and part-time jobs here and there, but now I want to like, okay, get in the workforce, So yes, I am working in Dr. Bonfield's lab, but I have been looking for other jobs out there involving in clinical research.
Nice.
So I want to do that, and from there maybe get a couple of years of experience, and then decide what's next.
Yeah.
After that.
When did you graduate undergrad, and then when did COVID happen? Because I think that's also important. 'Cause
Yeah.
I just took like
I graduated in 2018,
18.
undergrad. So I think COVID was 2020?
Yeah.
So I was doing like a part-time tutoring job. So I was a tutor in high school, middle school, elementary. But so I was working with kids, tutoring them, and also working with non-native English speakers, kids.
Yeah.
So like those who came from Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
I would help them with their studies, because I speak
Yeah.
Spanish. So when COVID hit, everything changed. I got they told me they no longer needed me anymore.
Jeez.
Wow.
So I had to go and do Uber Eats.
Yeah.
Really?
I did Uber
Yeah.
Eats. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dang.
And yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting couple of months doing that. But
Hey,
Yeah.
honestly, like, it brought you here, right, to RGE. Now, like, you have this whole career path that's like totally open to you. And
yeah.
honestly, this field that we're in is developing. Like, we came at like such an early point. Like, in 10 years, we'll be experts. Like, seriously,
Hopefully.
we just have to keep like consistent with whatever we're doing. And we'll just become experts eventually.
I'm just always so impressed by the amount of people that come and talk to us who are in the regenerative medicine field, but they do every person is like different in what they do. One guy's like a director and is like coming up with like novel therapies. One person is like in marketing and like they're pushing this thing forward, and then another person is like investing. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. This is so cool.
Would you want to go to California?
Or Boston?
I was thinking Boston. I don't know why. Just
Snow.
Boston. The snow.
She just won't snow that much.
No.
It's a lot of snow. It's a lot more snow.
California.
Hot.
Maybe if I like get a job
Biotech.
offer with like really good
pharma.
pay and
Whoa.
everything.
Dude, it's so expensive out
It is,
there.
but it is expensive to live. That's why I would make the decision if I get a job that pays well.
It's like wages are higher out there, but I feel like if you got offered 6 figures in California, but you got offered $82,000 to stay here, it's gonna be like the same.
I'd stay in Cleveland.
Like you'd have to
Yeah.
the pay would have to be almost like $50,000-$60,000. I feel like for it to even feel like it's a difference. But you could go out there, make a ton of money, a couple years, live like a hermit, just like minimalist. I'm telling you, minimalist, and then just save everything, and then come back, and then everything's a little cheaper around here, and you get a little extra money.
Boston's cool though. Do you know any companies in Boston?
No.
I
I'm
know,
not
like,
familiar with them.
Pfizer, AstraZeneca,
Oh, okay.
them people are all in Boston. MIT, Harvard, you know.
Anything they spun out, like it's all gonna be up
So
there.
it's a pretty awesome place to be.
Yeah. Well, the PhD student in my lab, he worked up in Boston for like 2 years.
Oh, okay.
After like out of his undergrad, and he really liked it. He said it was pretty cool.
You don't want to go back to Texas though. You don't want to take some stem cells.
You don't want to take stem cells back
No,
to Texas.
I mean yes. I mean, I would go to Texas. I would want to probably try like a bigger city, so maybe like San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, Houston, like those cities. I know they offer. They've had already. I looked into it. They have companies with like stem cells stuff, and so there's more opportunities there in those kinds of cities. Mm-hmm. Of course, where I live, it's growing. Where I live, like the medicine, the medical field there, it's growing, and not that I know, I've seen like stem cells related stuff there, but hey, who knows? Maybe one day they'll introduce it. They'll open something, or maybe, yeah.
You know what I think would be kind of fun is like we all come up here, like we learn everything, and like say we all go home, like you go back to Michigan, you go back to Texas, and like we all kind of, I don't know how far you live from like your university, but like what if we were all became like adjunct teachers and started teaching like the people under us about stem cells, like get people like rallied up about the you know, while we work, obviously. I think
or Debbie gets her own weekly episode on this channel. Where you
yeah.
educate your own people. Debbie Thursdays.
Oh, I mean, how
Debbie
cool.
Wednesdays.
I just had a brilliant idea. I'll tell you after. I'll tell you after too. But,
Okay.
But how cool is it though? How cool is it that like we all come in from different, kind of same but different backgrounds. We all have these plans after that are all going to be different. But
I think it's a master plan of Dr. Bonfield.
Yeah, it's
she did a good job,
Yeah.
like getting people from all over. Seriously.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think.
And I think it's this program like is going to grow. I think
Oh,
because
it has
we're planning like every year we're hosting this webinar for new students to learn more about the program and then our perspective on it. So I hope that, you know, this program continues to grow and like more students learn about it.
That's a great point. So like
Yeah.
on April 13th from like
this is the next one.
3 to 4 p.m. Yeah. Us three will
Yeah.
actually be there.
We'll be there again.
Yeah, we'll be
Did
talking.
the first one.
Yeah.
Someone messed up the press. I don't know who did, but it's
Yeah.
not out. But we will be talking about it on, I'm sure, in the episodes to come.
Yeah.
Today we're recording on March 23rd.
We got 3 weeks.
We got 3
21
weeks,
days.
21 days. So just keep your eyes on LinkedIn, Twitter. Well, maybe not Twitter, but LinkedIn. LinkedIn's where our biggest presence is, honestly. I really like using LinkedIn.
It's an education platform, you know?
Yeah, it's great.
Like, I think this is like...
It's great for
our
connecting.
thing.
So, all right, well, You guys got anything else?
Debbie, is there anything you want to tell the audience about yourself?
Or like anything, like if you were watching this podcast
And there's a little Debbie out
and there's a
there.
little Debbie out there.
What would you want to hear?
Follow your dreams.
Yeah.
What else? What else? Come on.
Just, keep doing what you're doing, if you have, if you're passionate about something, just go for it. You will, like it happened to me, where you will like fail a lot of times and you feel like giving up, but don't continue doing it. Maybe, you'll learn new things. Many doors will open and like all these new opportunities are going to come at you. So just take whatever and that opportunity presents and just go for it and keep doing what you want to do, and you'll get there eventually.
That's great.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm ready to run through a wall right now.
Ready to
Alright.
conquer.
Yeah, well, you got anything?
No, just we hope to see you again, Debbie. Thank
Yeah,
you for
and
coming
thank you so
on.
much for having me. It was
Yeah.
really great.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you. Yeah.
Thank you, Debbie. So, all right, everybody. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe. We have a lot of new subscribers, so just comment, ask questions, all that kind of stuff. We'll try to get back to you guys. But yeah, this has been another episode of Sell to Sell. We want to thank Debbie one more time.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.